43.
42. 41.
40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33. 32.
31.
30. 29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty, fresh take on politics. I'm your host, John Schmitz, and man, oh man, I'm just not in a good mood tonight. I'm just not in a good mood tonight. In fact, if I was one of the seven dwarfs, I would be grumpy because it's just been one of those days. It just started out bad. At 6:08, I get a text from our lovely GOP chairwoman, and I've been trying to get a meeting with her, and it just hadn't really worked out. And I asked her, I said, why are you so far out on your meetings? Why can't you meet with somebody within a month? I mean, that's how long it takes to get it, a month to get a meeting with somebody. And I don't work that way. I just don't work that way. We go back and forth, and I basically ended with, you know what? I don't need a meeting with you. I'm already frustrated because she couldn't answer why it took a month to get a meeting. And I'd do a phone call or whatever, but they insist on these meetings. I want to have a coffee. I want to have a coffee and talk about it. Folks, I'm going to tell you what, Marion County's lost. It's lost, and I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I live here. I tried. I've done as much as I can to try to help with my neighbors here. We just keep getting ignored. It's just like, I feel like a lot of Democrats. I feel like Brad out in Indiana, out in the rural areas, not here in the blue dot in the middle of the state. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because I've tried to do things for my neighborhood, and the GOP is just so out of touch. I have been fighting, and a lot of you folks know that I've been fighting the city BNS about permitting and zoning for about 10 years. In fact, that's why I got into politics, to fix it. I've literally have a 12-page PowerPoint that is a blueprint for improving the system that is in place now with BNS, which is run by Abby Brand, who is, I have no idea where they got her. She's never even built a doghouse. And she's running this operation. They bring in $28 million a year, and they add no value to our projects, to our city, to anything. There is not one of those inspectors I've run into that could even come close to inspecting the big Methodist hospital, the new hotel that's going on downtown. But yet they pick on other people's, like one of the guys here in Norton and Mars Hill. They made him tear his house down. Fine after fine, harassment after harassment. Your fence is too high. All sorts of harassment from these folks. So the GOP cites an article by a Democrat, guy that put his op-ed in the Star about this process. And that's it. That's just it for me. They can be on their own. The good luck Republican Party in Marion County. I've had enough of you. You have not supported me in anything. In fact, you don't want me. So I'm just going to be the host of the Mouthwash Show for a while. I'm going to go to work. I've made a lot of sacrifice with my business, with stuff around my house that didn't get done because I'm out politicking and doing this and trying to do that. And it's not worth it. The GOP has lost their way here in Marion County. I hate to say that, but good luck, Natalie Goodwin. because you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, and you ain't the person to do it. So anyway, how do you like that for Rant and Raven? It's almost as much fun as Rob Kendall and Micah Beckwith fighting live on the air today. It was great. But hey, I got another guy. I got another guy tonight that's a little bit like me. He's probably just as fed up about things. I know that he's fed up with the state legislators that think they can hide behind bills, that they can make a bill just to satisfy their constituents that they know won't pass, that they know they'll never have to vote on, and then they can put it as a badge of courage. Oh, look, I'm fighting for you. Oh, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to bring on, without any more rant and raving for me, because I do feel a little better, though, by the way, but I'm still not happy. I'm still one of the seven dwarfs, grumpy. But anyway, here's Dan Stock. Let's bring him on. Dr. Stock, how are you? You still have the record for the most live viewers and I think the most viewers after the fact, too, from your infamous 4 years ago. That's how long Mouthwash has been around. You might have been on Do Something. That's been a while. And you said that these masks and this vaccine were all older dash report. And guess what? So anyway, how have you been since?
Good. How have you been, man?
Well, you can see I'm a little frustrated.
I have sensed that.
It's so frustrating that, you hear all these people, I'm moving out of the country. I don't like the Trump or this or that. But man, never mind. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you, because you get me going again. And I'll have to go out and fill some potholes in our streets here just to, just calm me down a little bit. But anyway, what have you been up to?
Well, besides my private practice, primarily just trying to recruit groups and individuals and get education done on legislature reform.
Yeah, so
that is the thing it's going to take away your frustration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's plenty of frustration to go around,
Right now, yes.
The property tax thing is just, it is, and I'm going to have to do another rant here. So I appealed my property tax. We had the property tax rally a year and a half ago or whatever, and we said, hey, everybody appeal your property tax. Well, we appealed our property. We've appealed it because they just keep, I went up 640% 1 year, 480 year. Basically, since 2020, I paid $800. Now I'm paying 42 or 46. I don't know. It's a lot. And so we appealed my property taxes in 21. Well, guess what? 6 months ago, we finally got an answer on that 21 because our house was under construction and I had an open permit for about a year and a half because Hogsett kept sending his inspectors out here, red tagging my job, slowing it down. Plus, I was doing a lot of myself. So they assessed my house as it was all the way completed for those years. Can you believe that, Dan? They assessed it for all that money. So we appealed it. Hey, guess what? We won the appeal, Dan. We won it. It was a glorious day. I opened up my taxes this year thinking I'm going to get this $2,000 credit back and I'm going to be good. No, it's up $800. So I said, Lisa, what's the deal with this thing? What's the deal? I was supposed to get some relief here. So she gets on the email and she sends them an email. Oh, well, the case is so old that we can't issue a credit. We have to write you a check. And Lisa says, we didn't get a check. Oh, well, I'll follow up. And that was a month ago. So as you can see, even if you do get tax relief, you're not going to see no tax relief. So anyway, what is the CCLA?
So CCLA is the Citizens Coalition for Legislature Accountability. And yeah, we are a group of groups who are dedicated to the idea that the legislative process needs reform more than needs a personnel replacement. Personnel replacement may be necessary to get that process reformed. And if we have to go that way, we're willing to go that way. We would rather not have to, but it's on the table.
What are you trying to say, Dan? Is this going to be expensive primary season for some folks?
Well, I think it's going to be a challenging primary season because I think most people of Indiana have recognized the dichotomy that everybody has to get on one side of this fence or the other. And that is, look, are we going to be a crony capitalist society? Nothing proved this more than the property tax debate. Look, your legislators right now run scared from people who have campaign cash all day long. Those people, they like vaccine mandates. They like not having election integrity. They like not having they don't like parents to have rights. They believe in gender transition. They have all these things that to them are profitable, and they want these positions maintained by the legislature, and they terrify most of your legislators into compliance by threatening to remove their campaign cash or getting somebody to run against them. And they can do that because the present rules of the chamber allow them to actually divide and conquer. They get the legislators to give up their power that they could actually use to do something and hide behind the people they give the power to. And therefore they get out of accountability. Basically, legislators are more frightened of people with campaign cash than they are of their constituents.
And I do think there's another side to this. It's not only they're afraid of not getting the money, but they are afraid of the person that they will finance to replace them.
Exactly.
That, I mean, it's a two double-edged sword.
And in fact, people need to recognize that the reason this is going against them is simply because the legislators right now are more frightened of people with campaign cash, whether they'll give it to them or give it to an opponent, than they are of their constituency. And so the next thing you want to ask for is, well, why are they so scared of these guys and not scared of their constituents? And the answer is because right now the rules of the chamber allow them to hide from the constituents, but the guys with the campaign cash know how it works, and so they can't hide from them. And so our solution is we need to have reform in the legislative process. Any legislator who is happy to join us on this, we are happy to support you. If you're not, then we're happy to find a replacement who does understand that this process needs to be changed. Because right now, the best thing for a legislator is for them to actually not centralize the power that they're now hiding behind, but instead diffuse it out so that lobbyists have to hunt the entire chamber down, not each of you one at a time.
Yep. So I want to get the panel on here. We have Jay Hart in for Lucy. Lucy's like tired out. She says she sends her love, Dan. She says, I would love to be on, but those 10 kids, man, I got the best of her today. So what this does is you are getting legislators to come along when they do the rules to be able to basically have a vote on all of the bills that they put out. So they are on the record and then they can be held accountable. I know I paraphrase a lot of that, but is
that's a piece of it. The other thing is one of the rules changes that makes it so they're also accountable for every piece of legislation that does not get voted on. So
okay.
Basically, if you let a bill die, you're going to all be equally responsible. All 150 legislators in the House and the Senate would be equally responsible when a bill dies.
Okay, so how many people do you have on board here that you could safely say, or do you want to say?
So we have legislators who have already come out and in private said, yes, we realize this needs to happen, but we're terrified to be the guy who's
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I gave you the phone number to one today, so we'll see how that goes. He's a brave one though. I mean,
Well, and I do want to make sure people understand, because I know when I say that, hey, there's a bunch who've said, yeah, we know this needs to happen, but we're afraid to do it. There's a lot of finger pointing as, well, so-and-so must be a coward. And I tell them, look, the guy who jumps out of the trench second is still pretty damn brave, all right? Don't get on these people because they're not the first guy out of the trench. Instead, pick up the rifle and jump out of the trench, all right? There are some very good legislators who recognize that this process is the problem. And I think they want to see more grassroots support. Once we have them educated that, hey, everybody understands that when somebody files a bill, he can't then come to you and say, well, they didn't give it a hearing, because you had the ability to change those rules that would have made sure that it got a hearing.
I see what you're saying. So yeah, but think about it though. They really cram a lot of stuff in here. I would say that probably less bills. I mean, could this be a product of less bills? I mean, they let them do 10 on the long session. And to me, I can't even think of 10 things I want to do. So I would say, how about we take away 5 and you can add 5? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that can change, but I want to get the panel on here.
Sure.
They're patiently waiting back here. Let's bring them on. Let's bring on Tiffany, Jay, Brad. What is happening? We got to get our people down here.
Oh, hey, Jay.
What's up? UCLA.
Yeah. So surprise, Tiffany. Jay's going to be on tonight. So, I just want to tell everybody about our show. So this show is, we practice all week, 2 to 3 hours a night. We are so dedicated, and no, that's not true. Usually, I don't even know if everybody's backstage when I start the show. So that's it's organic. That's what our excuses is organic. In fact, Lucy sent me a message today about 4:00. I call him Jay Hart. He says, "Oh, I'll come on." So hey, we just fill in the blanks here. It's awesome. But
I love this show.
This is we talk about the stuff, and if you want to see somebody talking about the stuff, catch Witty reviews before this. I mean, Brad gets on there.
I'm like Witty's #1 fan, I think.
Yeah, he
Oh,
is
#1 fan.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
But he and I agree on so much more, and it's always terrifying.
You agree with a lot of Republicans, Brad.
I do.
Well, it's like. That's hard.
What does that say about all you guys?
That's hard to do because I don't agree
right onto the.
Hey, I agreed with some Democrats this week.
Yeah.
Yes, oxygen is necessary.
But everybody is so mad. Like it's been unifying.
On SB1, I agreed with a lot of Democrat testimony actually.
So yeah, and it is funny to see Democrats coming to the center on a lot of this stuff. I'm like, we're in like upside down land. It's like,
well, the reality is that there's a lot of undeniable truths that about that property tax bill that they're undeniable truths, but we have a legislature that is in denial.
And this is exactly the point. Even a Democrat can support representative Republican government and recognizes that our legislature right now doesn't do that.
Oh, it's so funny watching you guys like act like Democrats, like wounded that they're not listening. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't act wounded.
Yeah, no, he's not shy.
One of the reasons the CCLA is nonpartisan is because we actually recognize that parties aren't going to save this. All right. Right now, the question is which party is going to get the most money from the crony capitalists to be the party in power. And that as long as we have a system that depends upon that, no party is going to be the solution to this. That only having a structure of government that actually doesn't concentrate power and make it so that crony capitalism can work. Crony capitalists are equally happy to buy Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, they're just happy if they only have to buy one party at a time.
Yeah, they don't care. And I think one of the, you were talking earlier about trying to fix the way that we, the way that we legislate. You talked about different ways that, we can change the way we hear bills and things of that nature. I've said this on here before, but, committee chair term limits. If there's something that Republicans and Democrats agree on, it's term limits. We agree on term limits. Why not use that force? I think it's great that you're nonpartisan in that effort, because, that's something that, we could do in changing the rules. If we could just get term limits on the committee chairs, that would help a lot. But, I think anybody that pays attention for any length of time knows that lobbyists are running this state. Lobbyists are in charge. We saw it on display throughout this session. Was, to me, it was one of the most depressing sessions that I've ever watched, because I really hoped, and I think a lot of people were hoping, that we were going to get a new Indiana. I thought we had elected a new Indiana because I really thought that Governor Braun really needed to be in an executive position. I still believe that, actually. And I thought we were going to get a new Indiana. And we saw the power of the legislature. And it's strong. And the biggest problem, it's not even the rules. It's not even the process. That's not the problem. The problem is on primary election day, 85% of the people who could change, 85% of the people who are complaining, can I say bitching on this show? That 85%.
We got Steve Whitmer on the other on before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can go.
85% of the people who bitch about these things don't show up on primary election day. Mm-hmm. Here in my township, in Jackson Township over in Morgan County, we saw an increase last year, was passed last year, 500% for the township tax. So all these people are really furious because there was a meeting about it this past week. Everybody called me, are you going to go to the meeting? And I try to go to as many, political meetings as possible, but last year was the time to go to the meeting. But these people who are upset, I kind of want to just go dig out the results of when I challenged Roderick Bray in the last Senate race and say, where were you? You had an opportunity to stop the guy, the number one guy who worked against you on SB1, the number one, more than Todd Houston even, Rod Bray. You had a chance to get him out of office. Now, they would have just put somebody else in as leader, and we would have seen a lot of the same stuff. The lobbyists would have just repositioned some other puppet to do what they want him to do. But I want to tell these people, where were you? And until we change that, we're not going to change much. We've got to change the people. My friend Diane Hubbard, she says this to me all the time. Jay, if you don't change society, if you don't change the voter, if you don't change the people, you're not going to change government. And that's so true. I believe it more and more every day. We've got
So I got a question for you, and I want Dr. Stock to answer this first, and then Jay, or then whoever. How do we get people re-engaged? I think that a lot of people are just throwing their hands up, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Unfortunately.
And guys, we have to understand part of why that apathy comes about, and it's the frustration of never seeing anything work. But I think that's because we have actually viewed government from the idea of we have a personnel problem. Gosh, if we can just get rid of Holcomb and get Braun, or if we can get rid of Suzanne Crouch and get Micah Beckwith, that's not going to work. I can't remember who said it, but there's an old saying that a people gets the government it deserves. Right now, when I do a lecture for people about legislative reform, the first thing I say to them is, hang on to your hats. This is going to get boring. But if you let yourself get bored and check out on this, then this horrific system will continue and you'll be stuck with it because they depend upon you to stay bored. So look, seeing how a legislature runs is not the most enjoyable thing you'll ever see. I'd rather watch a Stanley Cup game myself. But let's face it, guys, it's not that hard to learn how legislative rules, how they evolved, why they evolved, how they got perverted to the way they are, and how to fix them. And this, I think, is the major thing that when we go to talk with people, we have always given them only one solution, which is ask your legislator to pass a new bill. And that system doesn't work because they have a great way to hide from you on what they did on the bill. Instead, ask them for the more important thing with, will you change this process by which legislation is crafted and voted on so that I can see what you're doing and hold you accountable both for what you do and what you don't do?
They won't agree to that.
Well, the legislator won't until he knows that his people have actually figured out that he could do it and hasn't been doing it. As a matter of fact, at the property tax rally I was talking about last time, one of the most important things I called out Mr. Braun and even the legislators who proposed good legislation that would have gotten rid of property tax was, you all could have done more. You could have actually called for changing the rules. And as a matter of fact, I even said in that speech that Mr. Braun, one of the things you need to do to keep your promises is not just call a special session for property tax, but call a special session for legislative rules reform. So I can tell you, if you do that, Mr. Braun, which is in your power, we actually may forgive you for the fact that you drubbed your ding so badly over property taxes.
I think that ship sailed.
And for somebody who comes out and says, boy, didn't you think Mr. Braun was going to be different? I would tell you, well, guys, I got to tell you, I really didn't think he was. And the reason I didn't think he was is we had one candidate in the gubernatorial, two candidates in the gubernatorial race who actually responded, gave us an opinion on CCLA. And that was the Libertarian Rainwater and Jamie Rittenauer, who was running for governor. Mr. Braun actually stood in front of a room full of 75 people and said he would make a decision on CCLA after the election. And then never made that decision until after he had already signed the property tax bill and sent his decision through one of his underlings to us.
And that decision was pound sand?
That he's not going to endorse the CCLA, meaning that he's going to completely abdicate the power to help with the reform of the legislature that he now wants to blame for the failure of his own agenda. He didn't really care about our agenda, but his agenda. He's been given the opportunity to come out and recognize that the primary problem is legislature reform. He's been given the opportunity to be the educational spear for that, to tell people, hey, this is what needs to happen. The problem is not that so-and-so is the Speaker of the House or that so-and-so is the President pro tem. The problem is that your legislator walked in and gave away the power to do debate and craft legislation, and gave that power away to two people so he could hide behind them.
Well, I think that I'm not. I spoke with Governor Braun today. I was surprised to get his phone call. It was a very good call. But on that, did he actually tell you that he was not going to?
No, he sent me the message through one of his underlings
and said he was not going to. Because today, I'll tell you that the conversation. I mean, the conversation today was how do we highlight the, I mean, the problem is he's right. And I'm not going to disagree with him on this. We don't send him the legislature that we need. And then we send an executive and expect the executive to make up for all of the failures where we don't vote, or where we don't send the right legislature. What I asked Governor Braun today was, will you moving forward? If you heard him on like Hammer and Nigel the other day, last week, he talked about it. He called out the legislator. He talked about local government and basically said, you've got to replace some of these people. And I absolutely agree with him. But what I'm asking him is, what will you do to help?
Well, this is where
help in that message. Will you continue that message forward? Will you continue that? Because there's going to be a whole slew of challengers coming up in these primaries. I'm feeling a little nostalgic this evening. I ran for state rep before I ran for Senate. Found this over at my local Goodwill. And, go ahead and throw it on.
Don't make me break out a John Schmidt for mayor.
So I'm not. Look, and
I did not expect that.
I'll tell you what I think is really important. I think my friend Tiffany will agree with me on this. I feel like this. For some reason, I think we're going to agree on this one. And we agree on a lot of things, actually. But I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I do believe that Governor Braun is more conservative than he gets credit for. I think he did go down and try to do. Did he do everything I wanted him to do? No. I told him that today. I told him I was still upset with him. I wanted him to veto the bill. I wanted him to veto the bill, to put it in the lap of the legislators, because that would help us. That would help us fight in the primary. Mm-hmm. But I also understand this. He doesn't have a lot to believe. He doesn't have a lot of reason to believe in grassroots people who say they're going to upset people in the primary, because we're not very good at it. We have not been very effective. It's because we're not getting that 85% of people to get out and vote in those primaries. The people who are waiting for the Trump Hillary, the Trump, Kamala Biden, whatever, the people who are waiting for that stuff, all these people with the F Joe Biden flags who don't vote in the primary, we have to get them out to vote. We have to do it. And I really think we got 3.5 more years in this term with Governor Braun. I want him to be able to operate and do some things like with the IEDC. That's very important to me. That's one of the reasons that I supported Governor Braun instead of some of the other characters. Certainly was terrified that Chambers was going to end up being our guy. Indeed. But it's some of the reason that I supported him in the race. He had upset me in the past with qualified immunity, not objecting to the 2020 election. There are things that upset me that he didn't do, but I felt that he was the most conservative person in the race that could win. And I went out and supported him because I wanted to make sure Brad Chambers was not going to be the guy. And I still believe that he is more conservative than he gets credit for. And I don't want to throw that away, because if we abandon the relationship with Governor Braun, who's influencing him? Now it's all Rod and Todd.
So we position on this, because Adam Harvey actually just expressed it very well through the banner he put through this. We would also like Mr. Braun to join us, frankly, if he would endorse the CCLA. And to his credit, I have never met with the man directly. I've talked with him about it once in 2023. He doesn't remember that conversation, he said publicly. We have not had the opportunity to get and discuss with him about this. But we made the point to him that, look, you can't come tell us that there's no more you can do when you could. We don't need you to come out and get us replaced. You don't need to give us the solution of replace the legislators. If we put new legislators in this same system, then we are going to end up with the same outcome. What we need is legislators who will say, hey, we will change that system. Mm-hmm. And that has to begin with an educational campaign, which Mr. Braun can be part of, and frankly, would cement his credentials. it would show us that he is not only sincere, and who cares whether he's brave or cowardly? The answer is he big enough for the moment? For right now, he has not been. Well, whether that's
3.5 years, though, that's another thing to look at.
Whether that's because of insincerity or naivete, or because he has practiced bad habits in this crony capitalist system for a long period of time and hasn't been able to think past it, I don't think is important. What's important is whether or not he thinks past it now. He just failed on his biggest hurdle. We offered him the opportunity to call a special session for legislative reform using property tax. It's the best example of why that legislative process fails. Mr. Braun is going to have to show that after he has fallen down in this stumble, that he is willing to be the man for the moment and say, yes, Mr. Legislature, I'm not here to call you names, but I am here to show you how you can fix yourself. And that's what Mr. Braun has failed to do, that he needs to do.
Do you think there's a balance there, though? I think we're off balance. I think, again, I wanted him to veto the bill. Our conversation was spirited a bit today, but it ended very well. I mean, honestly, and it ended very well as far as on a personal level. But I was, to be honest, I was kind of shocked that he called. But he knows he has a lot of.
I mean, I'm loving that the governor called you, but can you give me some context? Like, were you texting first? Were you playing phone tag? Was it like, hey, call me when you're free? Like, yeah. Hey,
I think back when he was running, I think in the primary, some people had told him that I was knocking doors for him, and that they were shocked that I was knocking doors for him, because I actually went back on a promise that I made myself, that I would never support somebody who had an opportunity to object to the 2020 election and did not. And I was pretty hard about that. But looking at the field and looking at the reality of things, I love Curtis Hill. I didn't see him getting across the finish line, and my support went to Governor Braun. And so I think somebody told him that and he knew I was pretty upset. I mean, if anybody followed my social media, I was not very nice to Governor Braun last week, and I was just brutally honest. I mean, he did not do what he said he was going to do, and today I'm like, what are you going to do to get us back? I disagree. I know his reasoning. I believe what he's saying. I totally believe what he's saying. He wants to balance and have a legislature that he can work with, because we sent them there. He's got to work with them. We have to change that. But what I told him was, what are you going to do to help us change that legislature? And had I talked to you tonight, Doc, I would have said that today. I would have said, you need to support the CCLA.
And my hope is that if he talks to you again, you will let him know that. Frankly,
absolutely. You know that I do.
Having him become the champion, as I told his underling that I was able to speak with when I couldn't get to him directly. If you think that you're going to get any agenda through this legislature other than what the crony capitalists want with the present system, then you're wrong. And if you want a legislature that you can work with, you had better move to reform that legislature. If you really do have the people's agenda at heart, reforming the legislature must be job one. It is the most powerful branch of government.
We have to do that, Doc. We have to do that.
Okay. So I want to jump in here.
And the constituency. Yeah. Both are going to have to work together on this.
Yeah, and I think this is going to have to be we have all these small groups around, and I'm not at liberty to let the cat out of the bag yet, but there is an organization that's getting ready to get launched that is going to get everyone's attention. And I think that this has to be probably a three-prong approach. It's going to have a mothership. We'll just say it's not another party, but it's another group of people that have enough power and enough workers to get the thing done. And then we're going to need to be able to get that message out, get the education, get everybody together. I think you will be impressed with this group. As I say, it's too early to say because it's still in the organization. I think one of the things we learned with the Hoosier Summit was we didn't get the organization together and we started pushing it out there. And then it just sort of got, it's still around, but we're, sort of wandering in the wilderness. So this, I think, could be an opportunity to get all the groups, the Jay Hart folks. I mean, even the Brad folks may want to get in on this, and definitely the Tiffany's and Dr. Stock. You're
really. I'm bringing the Black Republican women. We're just gonna.
No, I was thinking about I was thinking the Real Housewives
we're gonna
of
put our
Fishers.
lipstick on and our lashes, and we're gonna hop in an SUV.
And don't forget the moisturizer. And you cannot be driving an SUV.
Oh my God, you remembered.
I know.
Yes.
I'm trainable. You cannot be getting an SUV. You will get chastised you got to drive around an old microbus, a Volkswagen microbus from the 70s that's got 40,000 miles on it. It's been in 10 accidents. That's what we want our legislators. That's what we want our officials to drive around in junk cars. So anyway, I got off.
So John, this group that you're kind of hypothesizing and teasing.
Yeah, I'm teasing.
Is it like a tea party? Is it a beer party? Is it what is?
It is. It's statewide. This isn't just like it's statewide, and it's.
I understand it's just not two crazy people on TV with two red shirts.
It is not too crazy. These are. You're going to see who these people are, and I'll just tell you, I'm just promoting. I'm not in charge, so that might have a chance. If I'm not
a very good group. Yeah, I'm aware. There's
some people that know about a little bit of this.
As long
as it's a grassroots educational campaign,
yes,
it teaches people solutions. We don't need another group to come bitch. To be honest with you, I get no joy out of calling Mr. Braun names. In fact, I don't want to. If tomorrow he said, I am going to endorse the CCLA and these rules reforms, I would be happy to have him as my champion, to be honest with you. Education has to come from this, but it's going to have to come from all parts, both the constituency and the people in government.
I love that.
I have a question.
Tiffany, real quick, Tiffany, it's the Bull Moose party, because I got the Bullwinkle back there. So.
Oh, okay. Yay.
No, that's not the name of it.
So we really, and CCLA, I love it. Legislative reform, some transparency. Sounds great. Do we really think that, I liked what you said about being the right man at the right time and rising to the occasion, but do you really expect anybody
stick their neck out?
Or to put themselves in a situation where they'd be voting against their own best interest?
Well, first of all, they have to realize that they are
all the
voting
time.
their own best interest. In fact, one of the things that some of the legislators who will tell you in private, they know this needs to happen. They recognize that right now, the best way for them to protect themselves from lobbyists is if the power was decentralized in the legislature. So the lobbyists had to remove all 150 of them at one time because they couldn't do it. And that's the best way that they could actually represent their constituents if that power was diffused back away from the speaker and the president pro tem. They are already aware of this. Of course, they're scared to bring it up because they're going to become targets as soon as they do that. But I can also tell you, we have people, both who ran in the last election and who are going to be running in the next election, who are running for legislature under the idea that they are supporting the CCLA rules reforms. And that is an active part of their campaign. Jay Hart was one of those people in the last election who did that. All right. As a matter of fact, we had a Democrat who ran in the federal District 4 against Jim Baird, who was endorsing the CCLA. It was part of his agenda. Allowed his name to be put up on the website as a supporter. Tiffany, one of the things we have to make sure we don't get tracked into is the idea that tyrants are so scary no one will stand up to them. Because that is exactly the mindset that tyrants love to have. And every crony capitalist who wants to control your legislator through fear wants you to believe that there's nobody brave enough to stand up and be the first guy out of the trench.
Sure.
There are already people doing this.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing that nobody's going to vote against their own best interest, but sometimes people don't understand what their job is.
And that is why we have to make educational efforts, both with the legislature.
Wait. But what I'm getting to is kind of the idea of the trench. Is that nobody runs out of a trench because it's inherently good for them. You jump out of the trench and you run and shoot the bad guy because that's your job. You know what I mean? So it sounds like that people
take
don't
you on
understand that they're elected and they're supposed to be making decisions that are best for the state of Indiana versus their own, their own wants, needs, desires, ego, things of that nature. And I really think that as you have the conversations with people and you spread the message, it's like we're talking about doing what's best for Indiana. People who are elected, you're there for one term, you're there longer, but that is a revolving door of people coming in and out. And you're just trying to get people to try to do what's best for the state of Indiana in the long run. And I just that's what we're asking. We're asking them, it's like you're elected, but you're elected to serve and to preserve the state. And that's the reason why what you're doing is so important.
So I would make 2 points. First of all, there's a mistaken assumption there that people only do what's in their best interest, and this is just good for the state, and that people won't do that. So you're talking to the son of a World War II bomber pilot who flew 35 missions over Nazi Germany. And if you ask him why, it wasn't because it was my duty or anything like that. It was because he had a wife and child at home he had to protect. And he realized that this was part of his best interest to put his life on the line. So there are guys who have the courage to do this, and they find the insight to recognize that this is not just me versus the state. This is in my best interest and the best interest of the state. So they are not a dichotomy here, and the people who will do that do exist. Now, what we have to do is make sure that when they jump out of the trench, they recognize there are going to be 2 other people who jump out of the trench with them. And then they can begin digging out the trench, because tearing down the trench is what's most important. There are people who have this courage. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to go in just 2 weeks to the announcement of a campaign who has already said, I'm going to be speaking at there, and he's going to be endorsing the CCLA at the very beginning of his campaign as a start off on this. So there are people who are willing to do this, to go into
I'm
this.
telling you what, all I know is these trenches are treacherous. So Jay, before I let you get going here, Brad, I want to, you've been sitting here quietly. I think you're like me. I'm just listening. I'm supposed to be like, running this operation. I'm like, wow, this is great conversation. I mean, you got some Democrat friends, 1 or 2, don't you? I mean, I would think that they would love to be, because they want to be relevant. I think they would love to jump into this.
Well, no, and like the CCLA, as soon as Dr. Stock started talking about it, it made total sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to be involved in that level of, the legislature and making sure accountable? I guess I had a question about that because they slipped in a portion into the budget about the IU Board of Trustees. And so Governor Braun, yeah. Well,
we're going to have a fight here now.
No, I want to comment more about the procedure of it, I guess, than anything else, because
I don't like the procedure.
That it was done at 2 a.m.
No, so yes, and was it Representative Thompson? I think he's like the author of the bill. He claims that he still can't recall who put that in, and well. And I mean, you guys are laughing, but
I actually agree with you, Brad.
I'm laughing at them.
This is a precedent of we don't know where the law came from, and
that can't be true.
They just run with it.
Yeah, it can't be.
And so
I'm the captain now.
With the CCLA, like, where is that level of accountability for
that part?
Like the 13th hour kind of slip-ins, because I got to tell you that drives me insane.
As it should. In fact, one of the rules changes that we want is that all bill actions, both in committee, second reading and third reading, require record votes. You can't voice vote them. You can't division vote them. Whether it's even if it's a vote on a procedural motion to not discuss a bill, that it's not germane or that you object to it, even all of that would require immediate record vote. That way, there is always a paper trail on everything you could have done. All right. If you don't have to do a roll call, that's where they call name by name, but they have the voting machine in both chambers where they can say, okay, the question's up. You got a minute. Put your answer in here. Take a picture of the thing. It's recorded for posterity how you voted. you can do it very quickly. This happens on everything that has to do with the bill, all right, including, and put what a rules change in there that makes it so that when a bill gets filed, it has what's called a discharge petition. And if that discharge petition is signed by 40% of the committee or 40% of the chamber as a whole, it must be given a hearing. Now you can always tell whether or not a legislator actually supported that bill or not by whether or not he signed the discharge petition. And so they are on the record both for what they do and for what they don't do.
Very important.
There's no way to hide their vote on any issue for any bill with those rules changes.
Do you think there's a certain portion of representatives that do not understand the bills as written?
Completely true.
Yes.
Completely true. And
no, and again, like I, as elementary as that sounds, that is something that should be addressed.
It's frightening.
So I think that there was only 10. I heard somebody say only like 10 people out of the 150 legislators even understood the property tax bill.
And so understand how that comes about, because that's a multifactorial problem. All right. Part of the problem right now is you get elected these positions because somebody in the party says, boy, you'd be good for that. You've been active. Why don't you run for it? And they actually do it not because they love the idea of being a representative for their constituency, but because they've had a pat on the back and said, do what you're told and you can have this position. There's another group of them that the problem comes because filing bills has become an integral part of getting elected. Boy, Tiffany, I supported your ideas so much I filed a bill for you. I mean, I knew it was never going to see the light of day and it was never going to get a hearing and it was never going to make me vote on it. But I filed it to get as a campaign thing so I could go back and tell you I did. Well, as soon as you make it so that, look, dude, you can't just do that and not sign that discharge petition and put yourself on record for it. When you actually take back the power to legislate that you gave away to the speaker and the president pro tem, when you take that power back, the number of bills that are going to get filed is going to go down because that charade will no longer work.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hey, breaking news before you go, Jay, I've cut you off twice now. Pacers win 119-118 to advance to the probably the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I just want to let you know that. Welcome if you've watched the game. Now you can watch this great show instead of that boring basketball game because you know it looked like it was a runaway freight train. So anyway, Jay Hart, go ahead. You patiently wait.
This is a better game. Yeah, Brad, I agree with you. I actually, even though I'm happy with the outcome, I was very disappointed in the process. I hate that. And they could. Here's the thing that's really funny about all this. Why? What was the advantage? What did they gain by doing it that way? You have a super majority. They already proven to us if they want to do something, they can just do it legislatively anytime they want. They do it right in our face.
And when they don't do stuff too, like if they, the fact that they can dismantle as much as they want.
Yeah.
Do you think they just? Do you think they just think they won't get caught? I mean, some of these things go through and
they just don't care.
Yeah,
they just don't care because we know 85% of the people who can get them out won't.
Remember, there is a composite of motivations here, and I can tell you, as a guy who's spoken with a lot of legislators about this, I can tell you there's a composite of motivations. Some of it is frankly despair, where they just look at it as, God, this thing's never going to change. The best I can do is just make it die slower. Others of them, frankly, have never even thought about doing this. And in fact, if any of you guys know John Jacobs and Kurt Knisley, two very sincere men who really did believe in representative Republican government, when I discussed the idea of why didn't you guys just actually call for changes in the rules, they both went, we never thought of it. And so there's a naivete to this. There is an ignorance. There is a habit component to this. Remember, many of these guys, this shenanigan is the only form of government they have ever known. Now, there are some of them who are frankly deceitful, who are doing it because they know they can pull this off. I can tell you, I've had one of my own legislators lie to me about what his capabilities were, and I knew he was lying at the time he did it. So yes, there are some bad apples in there who frankly know that they're deceiving the constituency when they say there's nothing I can do. But I think there is a great many of them in there who are frankly naive or they are scared into ignorance.
Can I jump in here for a minute? I wanted to respond back when Tiffany was talking about. Tiffany was really over the target. The problem, there is no leadership. Look at the House. Todd Houston's the leader is the leadership serving the lobbyists. He's that leadership. But on the grassroots side of things, or the more conservative side of things, who's the leader? There's no leader. The House we need leaders who know how to go there and rally people and get people to hang together. We don't have that. And that's not a dig at anybody who's down there right now. It's just a fact. It's a fact. We don't have a leader representing our ideas, for instance, in the House. We don't have that. There is not one person who's down there who, and I'll toot my own horn right now. That's something I know how to do. I know how to rally. I know how to organize. I know how to get some people there. It's very difficult when you're competing $11,000 against. Oh, I heard this week that the final tally for Rod Bray's last campaign was $450,000.
Oh, he's got that in his glove box.
$450,000. Oh yeah, and they'll just fill that account right back up.
Yeah.
But once somebody's there, I mean, we have some great conservatives down there. But to me, I look down there, I'm like, there's no leader that stands out to me that knows how to rally people, get people together. You know, who's the person who makes the phone call and says, you know, on a Friday night and says, hey, calls 15 people and says, we're all going canoeing on Sunday. It's going to be a blast. We're going to go. Who's the person who gets those 15 people in the damn canoe? We just don't have that. We don't have that, and we need that.
Well, they'll get them in the canoe. They just won't row.
We need somebody who knows how to do it. We can put down there, somebody has to be the person saying, we've got to get up and out of the trench. Here's why. Here's the plan. And unless it's very secretive, because I have conversations with about every person that we would consider to be an actual conservative in the House. I never hear of these. I never hear anybody's name mentioned like, oh yeah, we're going to get together over so-and-so's, or we're going to this, or there's never a leader. And we need a leader. We need someone who's going to go down there and be a leader, someone who knows how to get all of our conservatives together and be a dangerous number to the establishment.
I do think that's
like a Freedom Caucus. We need
that. Hey, Jay, you're getting close over the target. Hold on, we like to bring our audience in here, so we got this question right here. How do we find out about LSA? I don't know. Their background. How do they get selected to be on certain committees? So, first of all, what's LSA? Is that I thought that was a university down there where Shaq went. LSA, or that's LSU. I'm sorry.
Those are the lawyers who are really writing the legislation.
Okay, that legal.
Who are really in charge. Yeah. And Yvonne, you're dead on. That's the problem.
Yeah. But she wants to know. Do you know how to answer? Where do they come from? How do they get them?
I believe they are an appointed position. That they are not an elect. In fact, I know they're not an elected position, but I believe they serve at the pleasure of the Speaker of the House and the President pro tem.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
And the lobbyists tell them who to hire from what firm.
So that's why
lobbyists are writing their own legislation.
Guys, that's why I think it's an interesting question. But I think what's more important that we pull off here is, look, if we're going to reform LSA, how's it going to happen? It's going to happen because we take away the power of the Speaker and the President pro tem to select the LSAs. All right.
Ooh.
And so that's going to be back to rules reform again. And so it's important that when we talk about we want a leader, somebody who's going to lead us out of the trench, we also have to decide what we're going to have that leader lead us to do. If the man says, I'm going to jump out of the trench and run right at the machine gun, I tell somebody, well, all that's going to do is lead to a bunch of dead people.
I've done that, by the way.
not so helpful. But if, on the other hand, the guy says, look, what I need to do is I need to get 3 legislators together who are going to propose these rules changes. And when they try and vote the vote on the rules changes, I'm going to demand a record vote because the rules allow me to do that. And then I'll have all of my colleagues seeing what's going down, and all their constituents will see what went down. And now we'll actually get movement because those people who are afraid of lobbyists may finally realize that I should be more afraid of my constituents, and my constituents are nicer masters than the lobbyists are. And it's that realization which we need the leaders to come to say, look, what we're going to do is start reforming the rules of these chambers. And they're all going to lead to a decentralization of power. And as we do that, that's what the leadership can do. And I can tell you, we have a candidate right now getting ready to announce who's going to do exactly that with the idea of, look, the first thing I'm going to do is go after rules reforms, because then there's no place for them to hide. For people on the show who don't know it, the rules are selected by a simple majority vote of the chamber. So your representative can't say, I had no power to do this. He had as much power as the Speaker of the House and the President pro tem in voting for those rules.
But what happens if he votes no? What's the consequence?
Well, then at that point, we can point them out as, look, the primary problem with our governmental failure is these rules. And you were the guy who wouldn't change them.
Okay, Tiffany, I see you're not really for this "we the people" thing that Dan's preaching down here.
So no, because I understand that even it's a good thing, but in order for it to go into practice, the people who it's going to impact the most have to vote for it. So I'm kind of thinking it through that lens: is how do you get them to do it? And so as I hear you talking about rules reform, and I understand the hurdle ahead for you, maybe instead of asking for sweeping changes, maybe it's like 1 or 2 or 3 specific things. Maybe it's 2 specific rules that you feel need to be changed immediately before you have them change everything, because you're asking for so much from people who have the most at stake. And I just want you to be effective. And I just don't know if you can get everything done at one time. Maybe you can. Maybe I
need a Trojan horse.
Is this a good time for you to talk about those 4 things we're asking? Which is actually
perfect. Woo, thank you.
Let us segue into that, shall we?
Great.
We actually have 3 firm asks that are the big changes, and then a 4th one we think would be helpful, but it's probably negotiable. All right. The negotiable one is that committee chairmen serve at the pleasure of their committees. The reason that's negotiable is we get the other 3. The committee chairman's not going to matter that much anyway. He's just going to be a facilitator. But the 3 that matter the most. First of all, that when you file a bill, you have a discharge petition that, when signed by 40% of the committee or the chamber as a whole, obligates the committee chairman to call it for a hearing. Because now you can hold legislators accountable for what they don't do on any given bill. Now, one good legislator can file one good bill. The grassroots can tell him that's the bill we want everybody's name on, and everybody will be responsible if they don't get their name on that bill. We can hold them accountable. The second thing we want is that, look, all actions on bills are going to have record votes, no roll calls, no voice votes, no division voting. We get to know how you voted on every amendment, every motion, everything that goes on. That gets done so we can hold you accountable for it. And then the third one, the one that they always try and sneak in as the dirtiest little trick, is the idea of avoiding a debate by having a procedural objection to the motion. And what we want now, because that's now decided by the committee chairman or decided by the Speaker or the President pro tem. And our third ask is, no, we want that to be immediately decided by an entire record vote of the chamber. So if somebody says, like, I take a good example of this, John Jacobs filed a bill against that would ban vaccine mandates. And another representative stood up and said, well, I don't think that's germane to this health care bill. Okay, all right, fine. Well, the Speaker of the House says, you know what, I sustain the objection, and now nobody voted on that amendment. They didn't get to debate it or vote on it. But what if, to kill that amendment with a procedural objection, everybody had to put their name on the decision? Now, all of a sudden, I look like a coward if I vote to dodge voting on that thing, and we have them accountable. So those 3 changes, maybe a 4th one would be helpful as well. But those are the only 3 changes we need right now. We get those, you're going to find legislators find that, hey, now I can actually be an effective Republican representative. And that's Republican with a small r, Brad, not a big one. All right. I can be an effective Republican representative of my district. And they will probably want changes like, hey, LSA, I sent you something I wanted done, and you brought me back verbal garbage, which looks like what a lobbyist wants. Take this hunk of stuff back, and I'm going to fire you and find me an LSA who actually will write what I need written. And we'll find if we get those 3, The other changes will probably come very quickly. In fact, they'll probably want that fourth one as soon as we get the first three, because they're taking away the place to hide. They're going to recognize that now, if I can't hide, my constituency is more frightening to me than the lobbyist is.
Yeah, that's well, I think that this has been very educational for me because I've been trying to figure out exactly what this was probably since you invented this, Dan. I know you didn't invent it, but since you've really been pushing it, and my hat's off to you. You have not quit. You have really, and that's what it takes to get something pushed through. A guy that is willing to, spend the time. I know I've spent a lot of time. My business has suffered. You get attacked. You get all different things, and at some point you got to wonder, is it all really worth it? But you don't quit.
Is it aging you like Obama?
Yeah, look, my hair is friggin' white since I started doing this show. It's just awful.
You're really like 27 years old.
All I can say is on my dad's 26th mission, he watched his best friend's head get blown off in his bomber. 2 days later, he crawled back in for his 27th mission. This doesn't look so hard in light of that.
Okay, well, you keep doing. Andrew Horning's dad flew those missions as well, so you could get some libertarians involved in this, even though none of them are really in the state house. But hey, they could be some cheerleaders from the site, because if cheerleaders don't get in the game, they just cheer, right? So
that's why I think we have both libertarians and Democrats who have been happy to get on fixmylegislature.com. He said with that nice little segue and putting that in there, and get educated about how legislatures work, why they malfunction, and what we can do to fix them.
So I'm going to assume that you're available for some of these teaching, for some of this educational thing, because, I have your phone number right there, and I call, and you know what? Whenever I call, you answer. So I love that. This is, we're going to go conspiracy theory. I don't think you've ever been scared of that. So I don't know. But Yvonne asks, bring Richard Bagsby on as a guest. I think we may have him next week. I'm not sure. I know he's coming on soon. He's another one. But as I say, stay tuned, because the natives are restless. I looked on Amazon the other day for tar and feathers, and they're out. So I know that people are buying it. And pitchforks, can't find them anywhere either. So everybody, stock up, because it's time. I think that. So one last question I have before we go, and then Brad, this is across the board. Are the Democrats going to get strong enough to make a difference in the state, or are the Republicans going to get so divided that it's going to give the Democrats an opportunity to come in, or are we going to have a brutal primary session this spring or there's nothing's going to change? I know that's a lot of ors. Tiffany, what do you think?
Nothing's going to change.
Nothing's going to change. Jay Hart.
I think in the state we have I think at the federal level, I think people are fooled into believing that Congress is working with President Trump, but in the state, I think people are really upset. I think it's a perfect recipe for another Tea Party-ish movement. And I think this primary season could be very bad for the establishment if grassroots people choose to be a rifle more than a shotgun and look at what we realistically can do and back candidates who can actually win. And we stay on those particular targets. If we do that, I think we could see some change. And I think we could see enough change. What I was going to ask Doc earlier is, how many people in this primary do we need to change who are on board with CCLA? How many do we need to change in this primary to be effective for CCLA?
2 seats in the House and 2 seats in the Senate. That's all you need. Because I can tell you with 2 of them, they can propose the rules changes. And if they try and voice vote it or a division vote it, they can motion and second the requirement for a record vote. So all you need is 2 in each chamber. And then anybody who says, no, I want to maintain legislative dysfunction, will be on record for that. And I can tell you that as this ramps up, we were not ramped up enough that we could actually make enough education happen for the 2022 election, or the 2024 election, rather. I can tell you that this is moving very quickly. There's no group small enough that I won't go talk with them. I think the smallest group I've gone to talk with is 9 people. All right. But I can tell you those 9 people realize that, hey, this is the solution. When the legislators know that we know, we've got it. And in fact, I hope, Brad, as I've reached out to the Democratic leadership of the Democratic portion of our legislature, I would be more than happy to have them put the Republican Party's nose in it for not supporting these rules changes. While we went to the Republican Party first to give them the chance to avoid the embarrassment of being the embodiment of lobbyists, it is not our primary goal to avoid embarrassing anybody. If the Democrats want to embarrass the Republicans with this, we will be very happy to support it.
I'm, and that's a good point. I mean, I've been, I love being a Republican. I said this the last time I was on the show, but like, I'm not loyal to any other Republican. I'm loyal to the platform. And I've never been shy away from talking about when our party has done something to embarrass itself. Unfortunately, that's been
rather common lately.
Yeah. And that's what I said last week. Like, this is very embarrassing. Listening to the radio and hearing my party put out a message about SB1, that it was this wonderful bill. That's something I told Governor Braun today. People are irritated because they keep hearing people say how great the bill is. It's not. Tell the truth about the bill. The bill's a hunk of crap. It's not good. It's not anything like what we asked for. And it might even be, I fear that it's made the situation much worse. But I know this. I know that when that bill was born, the Senate had no problem. Rod Bray found tax cuts for his donors right away. No problem. Found tax cuts for corporations on day one. Found them right away. Sorry. But
that's okay.
They struggled all the way through it to find tax cuts for us. But if we only need a couple people to get it done, let's focus on putting the pressure to make sure that we get it done. And if you think for one moment that House is not terrified that this guy's going to show up, you're wrong.
Yeah, well, and we need 100 more Jay Harts. All right, Brad, what do you think? I can't remember the question. Oh,
well, no, I
stay the same. Is it going to be different?
Is it going to go up or down?
Or sideways? I don't know.
Does Jay talk too long?
I mean, if anything, I think that the Republican Party just needs to get stronger. You guys are so weak right now.
Because
we're divided.
If anything, this whole show has shown me was that it is really difficult to be a Republican governor with a supermajority. Yeah. How can you get stuff done?
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you need?
Yeah. Since you put it that way, Brad.
That is
really.
Actually, there is a challenge that is faced when you have a supermajority of one party. What you have just done is presented lobbyists with a bargain. I don't have to bribe both parties. I only have to influence one. I shouldn't use the term bribe. I should say influence.
But to get
that's okay. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Republicans are like fumbling over their own feet.
Well, they're not.
That's what I say. Is there opportunity? Is there opportunity for the Democrats to come in, for the primaries to be tough, or is it going to stay the same? What do you think?
I think people are mad enough to where there might be changes, but I don't know. People vote straight R's.
And D's. They do it here. I mean, it was 65%.
Yeah.
It was in Marion County, or straight 68 straight D.
Ticket voting is just
whole nother show.
That's
whole nother show. So I just want to put a shout out to Robert. That's one of Tiffany's, fans there. And I don't want to give away any HIPAA things, but Robert had some health issues. It's good to see him back in the audience. We love our viewers. And we hopefully cover stuff that people don't cover. I mean, this is obviously a topic that I think could make some big changes in Indiana that I think are much needed. Dr. Stock, are you going to stick around?
You should get Rafael Sanchez to do a story about it.
I would love that. My mouth is big enough to know what I will not talk with about the subject.
I don't know that Angela Ganot, she's been a pretty good troublemaker here lately. So we need to
you have to reach her on the Twitter. But if Rafael Sanchez does it and he's
Please give those people my contact information.
Yeah. So, well, I think, like I said, we get our groups together. It's coming. This thing will be up and running by June. I think it's going to be up and running, and we'll start promoting. And you could join. Any average person in Indiana that cares could join this group. It's just going to be great. I just can't wait. I'm going to go ahead and play the thing here that says conspiracy theory. And my hair's looking too good tonight, so I'm not wearing that silly hat. So,
oh no, you're gonna skip the colander? Ugh.
Maybe not. We'll just have to see.
What are we gonna tell the kids? Oh my god!
I just have to keep it in suspense for 8 to 12
glad he's not gonna.
Hey y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out and let's see what's going on this week.
Psych. I was going to put the teeth in too, but I didn't want to scare our 8 viewers we got going here. So anyway, conspiracies. I'm going to start. Lucy's not here. I'm starting. What was it?
Go ahead, have at it.
I had a conspiracy, and I can't remember now. Somebody has to go. It'll come back to me.
I've got 2. I'll start and finish.
Okay, you can do the first one, and hopefully I'll think of mine. I had it there. It's gone. It left me.
The first one is allergies. And Doc, you can chime in on this one. I'm sure you got an opinion on this, but are so bad. I'll be 53 in July, and I've never. It's getting worse every year. And like right before the show, I had to put some aloe in my eyes and stuff. And I think it's the stuff that we're spraying on corn.
No, it's the airplanes. It's the stuff that comes out of the airplane.
I'm not with that one so much, but I'm with the corn.
Okay, well they're doing it too.
Because it's happening during planning. During the planning season, it's horrible. I mean,
okay, Dr. Stock, is he just getting old? Is his immune system getting old, or is it the environment? What is it?
No, it's not that. Are you?
Well, age
you look good. Nobody even said I look good, and now I'm old.
Age never
Hey, welcome to the show. Now you know how Brad feels.
Too complicated a question to answer. Make an appointment, Jay. We'll work on that.
Yeah, really. It's like he'll give you a CCLA advice for free, but the doctor thing you got to pay. You got to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what.
You want me to throw the other one out there real quick?
Sure.
Liquid AI, and it's in Tiffany's drink right now. She's drinking it. She's going to become the that's not the real thing that's in that. She's drinking liquid AI.
It's nootropics. It's a non-alcohol social tonic.
It's liquid
ashwagandha, stuff like that.
You drink it and it makes your brain function perfectly.
Look at her.
Yeah.
She did perfectly. She minced no word on this show this evening. It was excellent. She didn't interrupt very much. It was really good.
Well, it was like I was watching the Jay and Don Stock show. I felt like I was in the front row.
I was just listening and going, man, I almost took some notes. Almost.
It's like I was watching a movie.
I want to hear Brad's conspiracy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I got nothing today.
It sounded like he was a dog for a second there. Brad, where are you? You were in Charlotte, North Carolina at 5 or 7 hours ago.
Yeah, no. Right now I'm in New Orleans. Yeah, no, I'm going to. I brought my mask because I flew today. I'm kidding. I just brought it for this. To be honest.
Yeah, that's why I like your show prep is uncanny. It's uncanny.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
So is your conspiracy electronic virus?
Yes. Yes. Like you guys are gonna, I do just want to say though. So I am in New Orleans right now, and the Wi-Fi signal is allowing us to communicate like this. I think we, again, take this kind of technology for granted a lot of the times. Anytime that, our fearless leader talks about how great the 1870s to 1913 was, I want him to realize it was a time without telephones. It was a time without, information took a long time to get to people. And there is going to be an information divide if you, kind of allow it to happen. So I don't know. I think Starlink is basically going to be Skynet. I watched Terminator 2 the other day, and
It's
that's all I
coming.
can think of.
It's coming. Don't watch when Mars attacks. Please don't watch that. That's all. Tiffany, do you got something? I hope you do.
I don't think so.
I'm still trying to think of mine.
Jay, back to you.
No, Dr.
I was in Houston yesterday.
Scott, what do you call that when they put the stuff out of the airplane?
The chemtrails?
Chemtrails, that's it.
Yeah.
Chemtrails, yeah. There's something there. I don't know what it is.
It's weed.
Wait.
We're all fake.
Can we at least comment on President Trump's harsh words for Putin the other day?
What do you call him? A big fat?
No. He said Vladimir, stop.
Woo! Wow, that's
Given the sport of launching missiles, that's about probably the best he can do.
Okay. So you got one, Dr. Stock? You got something?
I don't have my tinfoil covered hockey helmet with me here today.
I know you had a good one. You did have a good. I know you're all serious on us and all this. Okay, so I think I remember mine. It's about the IU Board of Trustees. This is what really happened. Okay, so remember when they defunded the Kinsey Institute? Remember that, Brad? Remember your
this is all because of it.
The Donald Trump Institute now? Is it?
No, the E. Jean Carroll Institute.
E. Jean Carroll. Nobody would touch with a 10-foot pole thing. Okay, I got it. So this is what really happened. So that happened, and they didn't defund it. They did like the property taxes. You remember that when they had the 1, 2, 3 tax cap, and then they decided they're going to reassess. We're going to have referendums, and So IU said, well, hey, they did that with property taxes. We'll just do that with this funding. So they went around in the middle of the night with a big bag of money. They gave it to the E. Jean Carroll, Kinsey Institute, whatever it is. And you know what? Oh, they didn't catch us. Well, guess what? They caught them. So they decided that they were going to defund them for real, or we're going to take the daggone thing over. So they basically, the state, Dr. Stock, hold on, the state gives IU $628 million per year. Per year. Now, somebody said, well, their budget's $2 billion. I'm like, what in the world what? College cost about $20.52 when I went to school. How did it get so high? I just want to know. So this is a conspiracy that they decided that the state was going to take over IU, and they're going to kick all the liberals out. That's my conspiracy.
No, that's
that's accurate. I think. It's conspiracy. Lucy's not here. It's a conspiracy fact. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I saw that the Democrat Pierce. I think he was crying about it today, about how it's something about how
infamy,
blasphemy. Yes. So anyway, that's my conspiracy. The state took over IU, kicking all the liberals out, and they're going to go to Purdue.
No, it's to get at Kinsey Institute.
Oh, that
is totally it.
Yeah,
it's totally to get them off of campus. Like that's not over yet.
Yeah, there's going to be. Well, and the other conspiracy is
why.
Go ahead.
Why are they mad at the Kinsey Institute?
Well, they want to defund them because they were doing stuff
to
molest kids.
Children.
Yeah, that was something about experiment on
molest
kids.
Children.
There was
this is in their past, correct? Nothing
there's no current molesting of children.
Just far as you
know, has the Kinsey Institute been
allegedly.
How long has it been there?
Like since the 60s or 70s. Probably, right?
No, the 40s, 40 something.
Oh, 40.
Yeah, it's Kinsey was around for a while. He did some stuff, but Dr. Watson was one of in the 20s or 30s. He was one that actually some of the rules for the psychology were made because their baby Albert was a 1-year-old baby, and they decided that he would, we're going to condition this kid to be afraid of clowns and rats and different things. And there's actually a Where is Baby Albert Now, because Baby Albert was just a number. So there was speculation on, well, did they commit suicide, blah, blah, all the different things. Where is Baby Albert Now? So anyway, there's more to the story though. There's more. This is the part that Brad, you may not even know about. So let's go back about a couple years ago, they had a board of trustees election. Does anybody remember who ran for that? He may be a representative in the Congress in the 6th district now. Does anybody remember that guy's name? Does he? Come on. Jefferson Shreve. Jefferson Shreve ran.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. See, you just didn't think.
He ran for what?
He ran for the board of trustees, the IU board of trustees. Guess what? He lost. So this is revenge of the Sith. That is the underlying thing. It's got nothing to do with the Kinsey Institute. Like I just put that big smoke screen up. This is all Jefferson Shreve.
This is
backdoor in the
John, you're playing like 5D chess here.
I know you guys just can't even keep up. It's the hat. If you guys had the hat, you would be able to think like this. You would be able to do it. So that's what really happened. This is how the phone call went. Bring, 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 bring. Hello, Braun. This is Shreve. Yeah. You know, it's on. Make it happen. Click. That's all I gotta say. That's how it went. All right. So, Tiffany, are you still trying to figure it out?
No. So back to my original question is, so IU feels that the Kinsey Institute.
Now it's like an institute of sexual health and like well-being and stuff, and it does have like a little museum part to it, and it's very like I went to go visit them. I talked to the director and shared my experiences with Purple for Parents with them. We commiserated, you know. There's great.
So my question was, IU feels.
Well, I'm sure they feel bad about it, but you know, they would have taken Brad out to lunch, but they don't have a budget anymore.
Well, like it should stay, and it's not an issue. Like it does.
It is an issue. There's no transparency.
How is it still an issue? Is the issue the name? Like I
think it is the name. I think it is the name.
I think there's a transparency issue.
With what?
Because we don't want to. Why does the government give money to things that we don't know what it's going to? Why?
But I mean, like, do you think right now money would be going towards child molestation?
I don't know if it would or not.
It's all coming out of one budget. It's all coming out of one budget.
I would not be shocked at all. In fact, there are some people who would say that yes, they are. There are these transgender studies for children and crazy things like that happening there.
And
unfortunately,
there's no transparency. We don't know that there isn't. And we have enough evidence to assume that there is. So why would we give taxpayer dollars to something that we don't even know what it's doing?
And that's
by the way, I'm against that across the board. I'm against
you can ask them.
All right, I'm gonna give Dr. Stock the final word here because we went so deep in the rabbit hole, and I know it's my fault. So Dr. Stock, lead us home here.
So I would beg everybody in the state of Indiana to get educated on legislative process, its failures, and how to fix it. All of these little issues like the Kinsey Institute, property tax, medical freedom, all of those failures are coming because of legislative failures. That's where the solution is, to fix it.
I like it. We could fix it all in one swoop. So
legislature.com.
What was that again?
fixmylegislature.com.
Wow, that's really hard to remember. Fixmylegislature.com. That is easy to remember. I like it. I can remember that better than I can the COLA or whatever you got down there. The CCLA, the Citizens Coalition for Legislature
Accountability.
Accountability. That's it. I'll get it. You give me 2 more years. I'll get it, Dr. Stock. I just want you all to notice that I took time tonight to fix the ending to include Jay Hart as one of the panelists. Huh? Look at that. I know. Really? Someday I might actually be something here on the show. But anyway,
Dr. Stock. Just Spielberg.
Yeah, that's Spielberg. Has a more like
Spielberger.
I feel like Tony Benn's on Taxi. So anyway, Dr. Stock, thanks for coming on. Jay Hart, thanks for filling in late. And Brad, as usual, thanks for taking time out of your vacation in New Orleans, whatever you're doing down there. Hey, I got a saying for you. Do you know beignet? You know that? Do you have those beignets?
I'm going to get some tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So I had a T-shirt called Beignet Done That. So there you go. You could use that when you go in there, and that's good. Jay, thanks for coming on. Tiffany, as usual.
Brad and I could have Brad and I could have had a drink yesterday. I was actually in Houston yesterday morning. I drove straight home. That was a heck of a drive too, by the way.
You're still young and all the allergies. You probably got something down there in Houston, all the oil rigs and everything down there. Jay, I know that you're not real good at geography, but Louisiana and Texas they're not real close. Not real close. But
well,
Houston
I was going to cut over because of the storm.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to go 10 and then up. Okay. All right. I'll give you that. I'll give you
the storm.
Houston to
Yeah, no storms. All right. So anyway, that is it. I'm playing the ending. This show's over. Thanks, Dr. Stock. Thanks, panel. You guys are great. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.